even if you have enough time on your lunch, but that village vehicle.
Right.
If you know you got a personal matter that you have to do on your lunch hour, then maybe you ought to be taking your personal vehicle that day. But you guys need to minimize your mileage on these vehicles as much as you can, because the equity numbers that he put in your potential savings are just not gonna be there. They're not gonna be there because the number was flawed, in my opinion, and they're not gonna be there because most experts are saying that the used car market is a bubble that's gonna burst. So if and when it does. So every mile you save is gonna be a cent or two saved for the taxpayers, so it sounds minor, but I would highly, highly advocate for including something in the policy about personal use of the vehicle, even during the workday.
Anyone else?
Can I just ask a question? Instead of like grouping all the vehicles together, would it make more sense to separate, so you have like, so each, like there's other people that take vehicles home that weren't necessarily in here, but they were lumped into that department?
Yes, that
And-
would make more sense. And the reason it was hard with research is different villages are not responsible for necessarily DPW or fire or police.
Right.
So they didn't all necessarily have that in their policy. So yeah, if we maybe broke it down into 3 different,
Or like,
or 4
so,
different, each department, by
yeah,
department.
so you have
Yeah.
like, you know, superintendent, street foreman, something more.
Are you recommending they still all take vehicles home?
No, but if there are
Oh,
people
okay.
that taking
Yeah,
vehicles
no,
home,
I'm not
we
saying, I'm just
specify.
saying, instead of lumping things together in one department, like,
I kind of like the lumping though, because when you start detailing, and then all of a sudden a position change or a title change or a new vehicle is added to the mix, then your policy is no longer relevant. You know what I mean? You guys may decide down the road that this superintendent in this position is gonna be a new position called X.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just one of those,
Yeah, and they mentioned that, I think, an all-encompassing policy, that's kind of what you're,
no,
I'm misunderstanding. You know, they're trying to make it specific to each department.
Yeah.
I think that's,
yeah, that's, I was just saying like, so, under police, you would have chief, lieutenant, investigator 1, investigator 2, investigator 3, so say, if whatever recommendation is that the 2 that are 2 investigators and then a third, like if we don't have a third investigator, that vehicle stays here, or, you know what I'm saying?
I gotcha.
Like, so at DPW, we'll have superintendent, street foreman, water foreman, wastewater treatment plant operator, I don't know who else takes vehicles home there, so I just, that was my thought.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
okay, all right. So that moves us on now to the ambulance purchase, and I don't know if you guys have this.
Did we already do the water main?
Yeah, we already did the water main, didn't we?
Well, this is another part of it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marty, I'm sorry. So water main replacement.
Okay, so, on, 7/14, last week, near state, received a call from near state DOT, asking the village to, if we could hire an engineer, get an engineered plan for the relocating the water main on the bridge on 420. They would like that part done by us so that we would hand over to them, and then they could put it through their riggers and see, you know, what needs to be added or what other steps needed to be taken. So that was the call I received the other day. They would like us to basically spend some funds, put together a plan, replacing that water main on that bridge and turning over to them so they could take it to their next step, so.
So they want an engineering firm to kind of put together a plan
Yes,
for us.
yeah, which it's gonna be a boilerplate deal, you know what I mean, it's all, we have a couple firms in mind already that familiar with Massena, so.
So it's nothing you and I could just sketch out with a pencil?
Oh, you could.
Yeah, here's the bridge, here's where I want to put the water line.
So that, I just wanna let you know that's where we're at with that, and all we would be asking the engineering firm to do is just do the design, so that we can, the stamp plans, I could send to DOT. It's no means locking them in or anybody in, you know, for them to do the project or anything, because we're not even there yet, so.
Do you need anything from us to get quotes for that?
Well, actually, professional service, all you need to do is get one. All I need to do is get one that we entrust. And if you have been here longer than I have, if there's a certain firm that you like better than others, let me know. But we do have a couple that,
Well, there's some I don't like other than. That's good, buddy.
If it's not a lengthy process to get the quotes, I did too, just in case.
yeah, I can do that, yeah, okay. All right,
Well, this one here, basically all it is just a drawing to show what they want to do.
yeah,
Then the state will say, yes, you can go to the plans, but, or, no, you gotta add,
Exactly.
you need 6 more,
Hangers or
straps
something,
for
yeah.
every
Yeah.
so many feet and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's just what you're doing basically is saying,
Yeah.
drawing
that's right.
of what you plan on doing.
Yeah.
You got it.
That would be
And that one
4,200,
got-
please.
All right, thank you. Next up, the ambulance purchase. I know there was some concern. In regards to, would we be retiring a debt payment when we purchase this? And we will be retiring that, correct, Kevin?
February.
In February.
Yep.
And this debt payment wouldn't start until,
Fiscal year 23, 24.
yeah. And so, one of the things that we were talking about are the schedule, you know, for the bond, a 5-year or 8. After looking at them, and I kind of gave my opinion, I was leaning more towards an 8-year bond. And my rationale behind it was this: well, hey, it's cheaper. But also, it allows us more time to make sure that, you know, we're going to see what the budget is going to look like, and, you know, are we gonna be able to build a capital reserve fund? Are we gonna have enough money where we can actually pay cash next time, or a very reduced bond term? So I just thought going with the 8 years at the much cheaper payment would be the safer route. Granted, it's gonna cost us probably about $15,000 more over the long run, but I think just making sure that we're all set financially with the budget for that, I thought it was the way to go. Thoughts on that?
Well, the only problem is when you extend that out too long, you're gonna need another one and another one, and you can't go 8 years between, you know, that's 24 years for an ambulance, by the time you get to the point where it's just too long.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be my plan to do that for all of them, but I just thought for this one, it would give us a little bit more flexibility was all. Brett, anything to add?
I have a very stupid question.
Yeah.
Is there a penalty for paying a bond off early?
Kevin?
Typically, you can't pay off early.
Okay.
But when bond holders accept these bonds, they are looking and say, okay, well, I'm gonna gain this much interest.
Over the 8
So,
years?
over the years,
If you only do 5, they lose money on it, so
Correct.
they do attach a penalty.
correct, yeah. So
Okay.
typically, in a longer term bond, you can see where there's what's called a callable date,
Mm-hmm.
say 10 years. They will allow you to call that after 10 years out of, say, 30.
They've got their interest.
Because they got enough at the
Yep.
beginning of it. But in a shorter term like this, typically you don't see a callable date at all, so you're not allowed to pay up on it early.
But the other thing I was thinking is that if we see that we're doing very well, you know, with resource recovery and such, you know, we can just kind of say, all right, we're just gonna use our capital fund money to pay that off over that time.
we could transfer it to debt service.
Yes.
As a reserve for that purpose, and it would be that.
So,
From the budget.
Treasurer, last time my concerns were echoing some of your hesitancy. Where are you looking at projections, looking at the bond rate, 5, 8 years, whatever one we go with? Are you comfortable that we will not land in a negative cash flow position at the end of this year if we do this?
For the rescue squad itself. being
Rescue squad
sustainable,
itself.
I think you're still gonna be sustainable as a, not at a loss. How much of a gain? I don't think it's gonna be a lot. Certainly isn't gonna be what the town has been seeing. Especially for taking on, maybe not the first year or two, but I think in the long term, I think we're gonna not be seeing what they presented to us as in terms of profit. It just depends on where we're replacing ambulances. You're gonna have one now. Aaron mentioned, he says in a couple of years, you might be needing another one. So I don't know the age of them, for the replacement cycles, but I think you're not gonna be losing money, I don't think. But again, we're only 6 months, 7 months into it, so it's hard to really gauge.
My biggest concern is that we just are sticking to this doesn't impact taxpayers and general fund. So if you're telling me that you think we can do this, that eases my concerns.
The useful life is the max that you can go out for a bond, which is 10 years on an ambulance, they said. I thought it was 8, but the big question in my mind was, how long is the vehicle gonna last? If it'll last 8 years before you start looking into replacing it, then I was okay with an 8-year term. But if it's gonna last you 5 and you're doing it for 8, you don't wanna get up into an upside down situation. But if they last 8 years before you're really kind of getting ready to push them out the door, then the bigger concern is if you don't do this now, interest rates are gonna continue to go.
Right.
So knowing that you're gonna, if you approve this next week at the special board meeting, then you're gonna have the money sitting aside and ready to go for how many days you said?
270 is what we're looking at right now.
Before you gotta pay it, but
I
that's.
know this was said at the last meeting, and I apologize. What is the average life expectancy of ambulance?
Well, Massena Rescue used to do, to keep costs down, is 8 years.
8 years?
After 8 years, we started to see the operational cost of fixing them
What are the,
skyrocket.
what years are the current ambulances?
The one this would replace was a 2008. After that, you have a 2012 manufacturer, it's actually 11 chassis. Then in 2014, our fourth one is a 2019. We were held back a few years on multiple times to
I know
redo
why
this.
they were so profitable.
What, the other thing is that I hope to prove to you guys that there's more money there, and I know the call volume is up this year as of last month, 1,800 calls so far. So we're looking at probably 3,600 for the year, which is even more numbers than last year. And a lot of the money, we held that budget, and money went other places afterwards that didn't show it was attached to the rescue squad. So I'm hoping you'll see that too later on, at the end of the 12 months.
Normal circumstances, I lean towards the 5-year, but 8 years,
I personally think that's a good baby step, I guess you would say, in the right direction. As Kevin said, we're, 7 months into this, and I'd like to see where we are 12 months from now and have this conversation again. I think, like I said, the way these guys have been running calls lately, I think that's the way to go right now, to get us over the hump and get this thing done, so.
So are we okay then with the 8-year?
Yeah.
And that will be at the special board meeting on the 27th, on resolution.
Thank you.
Now, new business. Speaking of which, there's a notice of a special meeting Wednesday, July 27th at 11:30 a.m. It's actually going to be 2 things on it. It'll be the bonding resolution and the consideration of submission of the New York State Community Block Development Grant. So with that in mind, I need a resolution.
So before we move on to the resolution item,
Yeah.
do we know, is trustee Simpson gonna be able to make that meeting?
I would assume yes.
Okay. The only reason I ask is there was a little mix-up on the availability email.
Oops.
And I may not be available, so I wanna make sure you have quorum.
Okay,
And I'll either be
Right.
zooming or calling in, because I'll be.
So you need 3 physically here.
Francis, are you good for the 20?
27th at 11:30.
I'll be here as well.
Would you prefer me to call in or Zoom in? I'll be at
Zoom
the
is fine.
doctor's office with my daughter.
Oh, call.
Okay.
And I may be able to zoom in.
Okay.
But
And
the
we need
physical
3 physical
requirement
people.
of 3 being here, I just wanted to make sure.
It's actually not effective yet.
Oh,
It won't. I have 20 days to get into New York State.
well then, we got you covered either way.
So, do I need a resolution for the notice of the special meeting?
No, I was just giving notice.
I do need a resolution to establish a public hearing date and time for July 27th, 11:30 for the CDBG engineering plan.
It's just a motion.
Motion to establish.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Revere, second by trustee Winston. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, the appointment of the water department meter reader provisional, and that person is Dave Maynard.
So move.
Moved by trustee Revere, second by trustee Carver. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, we need to accept the resignation of Michael Olson. Moved by trustee Carvel, second
Second.
by trustee Revere. Any discussion?
Yeah, so like I think Mike has been in that position for many, many
Yes.
years, and he's done a good job at it, and I'm gonna be sad to see him go.
Yes. Now, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Therefore, we need authorization to canvass for a part-time, non-competitive police officer for the Justice Court.
So move.
Moved by trustee Revere, second by trustee Carvel. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is the appointment of Shannon McQuaig as the village justice court clerk.
So move.
Moved by trustee Revere, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Winston. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, proposed resolution. This is to authorize professional services agreement with PMA Management Corp. as the third-party administrator for general liability and auto claims programs from September 1, 2022 to September 1, 2025. Entertain a motion.
So move.
Moved by trustee Revere, second.
Second.
By trustee Winston. Discussion?
Is this gonna take, place of the guy on the motorcycle there?
Yes,
Yeah. The guy on the motorcycle.
yes.
Okay. Is it about the same price? or
Yes.
is it- Okay.
Anything else? All those, oh, this is a proposed resolution, so it's a roll call. Trustee Winston,
Aye.
trustee Carvel,
Aye.
trustee Revere,
Aye.
and I am an aye. Next up, the discussion of the revisions of chapter 240 of the solid waste storage collection and disposal restrictions. Martin?
Okay, so what I would like to see is add a week, the first week of July, first full week of July, to let the DPW crews make one pass throughout the village for a brush pickup. I've been here a short time, but I can see the essential need to this. And also with that, I'd like to start opening up the gate at the old DPW, like Saturday mornings, like from 7 to noon, which would allow and hopefully encourage more residents that don't have time Monday through Friday, and the gate's open until 8 o'clock, to come in down Saturday morning and possibly dump it off themselves. That's, spring and fall pickups would remain the same. The Saturday deal, if there was any abuse in it, people dumping garbage or anything, then we'd shut it back down.
I like it.
And there was one other thing here I'd like to see, is removal of the plastic bags and go with the paper bags for leaf pickup.
Well, the thing with that, it has to be picked up quickly. Sometimes now they stay out for a month.
Yeah. Well, so I think with eliminating the plastic, things will speed up more, I think the guys can move a little quicker on that because of the plastic bags they had to, so this would.
Do the paper bags, they have a tying mechanism on them and all?
Basically, the ones that I see, basically, they can like fold them,
Fold
you
up.
buy them at, my biggest thing right now is I've been to Home Depot and, you know, they said, yeah, we'll have lots of paper bags, but, you know, that's, the only thing that worries me right now is, the supply and demand.
Yeah, because I use the paper bags, I prefer them.
Yeah.
But I will say, I bought them at Price Chopper before, and, you know, they got a little crate that they have them in, and they have a few at each register. BJ's, oddly enough, sold them last year, but it wasn't a huge supply.
So that's what I've inquired right now at a couple places, and, before, you know, we move forward with that, definitely, we have to make sure that, you know, they're gonna be readily available, you know, to the public.
I think everybody's okay with the July pickup of the brush and
Absolutely.
loading, but the move to the paper bag, let's make sure that everybody's
Yeah.
on board.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can tell you, I'm both blessed and cursed with the trees in my lawn and I do my mom's as well, and that damn tree in the back. Those things don't drop their leaves until November 1st. And it's a life and death struggle with those things, but still, it's, you know, it's, I seem to do it every day, it feels like. But
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's fine.
And when we moved towards full enforcement of the clear bags, all the retailers did a great job of trying. But there were lots of periods where that phone rang off the hook of, I can't find clear
Yeah.
bags.
Yeah, and I understand that,
Yeah.
and I knew that was, this one would be the one that would be hard to, just, like I said, it's supply and demand.
You know, maybe the first year it's, we really want you to
Yeah.
use the paper.
Right,
If
right,
you don't,
yeah,
we'll still
yeah.
pick it up, but then
Right.
the next year, we're doing paper.
Right, work toward, you
Yeah.
know.
But the brush pickup in July is great.
Yeah.
I said it at the last meeting. If we are gonna be able to do it, awesome, and having an established time frame sets the expectation. People know, put it out this time because they're picking it up this time of the month. You know, in this case, July, the first week, is that what?
Yeah, first full week of July, and I'll have a detailed, like, I'll have 2 weeks before that to put out, and then we'll make that sweep, that one pass that week, and then be done with it till fall,
Okay.
unless there's a major storm or something.
So in our code, it currently specifies when brush pickup will be. Do we need to?
So we never did before. And what I mean by that is that code has been that way for years. And we didn't stop doing June, July, and August until 2 or 3 years ago. So before that, if the DPW had the capacity, they did it. And that was part of the problem, is it became so regular, everyone just assumed it was year-round, when it really never was year-round. You know, so do we need to spend the money on a code update? Or can DPW just announce annually, we're doing a special July pickup?
We still need to do a public hearing, right?
Well, if we're gonna change the code,
If you're
I
gonna
would say
change the
yes,
code.
but so here's the thing is that I just worry people, the residents may say, well, it doesn't, you know, when we tell them that it's in the code, they have to follow certain things.
Right.
And then if it's,
How's it any different than a storm, though?
It's at his discretion, and so if every July, we know the first week, and it's gonna be at your discretion.
I mean, I'm not opposed to changing the code,
well,
but
the other thing
if we
too,
can save the taxpayers what's it cost, $1,000 every time we change the code?
No.
No, I thought it was expensive.
It is depending on what you're changing, if it's, you know, like a whole chapter, like when we did the taxi cab and fireworks stuff. But also in here it does, so when you go to the paper bags, it just, I mean, it.
Yeah, that definitely has to be.
So that's, I was just saying, like, if it's something we're gonna roll out now, you might as well change it both now. Or if we're gonna wait, we'll wait.
Well, hell, if we're gonna do it, we might as well do it. I find it odd that we have to pay $1,000 to
It's
change
not.
our own code.
A whole chapter, I guess, costs more than a simple change, but.
No, it does.
Why the hell do you have to pay to change your own code? It's our code.
Who do we pay?
Yeah, who do we pay?
We code, service, that sends you the whole.
I wish.
We paid you.
We change that book every week.
It's not the code committee, because we'd be in there with you.
Exactly.
Who's getting the money?
Gotta be what the state was.
Let's change it at a later date, but yeah, you're good.
Let's just encourage the people to
Yes.
start going to paper bags.
Right, exactly.
I'll see how that changes this fall, or up to, you know, including the fall, and also the, you know, the buses are freebie, and, you know, you might not wanna do it next year, you might not have the chance to do it next year, but.
And Mayor, I think you said this, putting out the notice of, we're looking to do this next year,
Yeah.
get used to it now, get ahead of the game, buy your paper bags.
Well, then, yeah, that's what I was saying. Do it all later, do it now, whatever.
Yeah. Thanks, Margaret. It's little things like that that I think kind of reestablish trust with local government. I appreciate it. I think everyone else will too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next up, item I is to award bids to the 2022-23 DPW supplies and materials.
So
Moved by trustee Carvel, second
Second.
by trustee Winston. Any discussion?
It's just a normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up, discussion of the peace and good order, Article 1, alcoholic beverages. So this pertains obviously to the mega reunion, which is progressing nicely. And it's, they've got everything in order now for down at the, for the party that night. They've got their outdoor liquor license and so forth, and they've got it all set up. I believe they have the map back there for you. If you're wondering what the setup looks like. Yeah, so at any rate, in order for this to happen, we need to have a temporary change to our code to allow open container outside this party, which would be from 3 to 11 p.m. on Saturday, August 6th.
Only 11.
I'm
It's actually, they're only
I'm
going 3 to
kidding.
10,
Yeah.
and from 10 to 11 is gonna be the cleanup, but they thought, might as well.
No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
I'm totally for approving this, but remind me who's doing the cleanup again? So if there's broken bottles and things on sidewalks.
They have
around
actually
that
people that are gonna
area.
help with the cleanup, people that weren't part of the 80s that wanted to be part of it, they said, hey.
You can
wanna
do
come
cleanup,
in?
the younger
We're gonna do
people.
cleanup. So,
Other than that, I approve, I just wanted to
and
make sure
I
that
think
there's
also
someone
we'll
cleaning.
run I know we're gonna, I sent you a request, we'll run our street cleaner before we close down the street, and I'm sure we'll run it.
Just make sure there's no glass.
Everybody's really doing a great job helping in this, so it's really coming together. And for the first time through, I think that the Monday department meeting, I said, well, everybody's hitting the panic button, but by Tuesday, everything was all settled and stuff, so it's coming along. So, motion by trustee Winston,
Yes.
second.
Second.
Second by trustee Winston. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item K, authorization to canvass for a motor equipment operator, repair one position. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Lavere, second
Second.
by trustee Winston. Any discussion?
just for the record, this is internal to start.
Yes, this is for
result
the,
of
this is for the
movement.
Maynard movement to the meter reader.
Yep. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I got one more item under new business, and excuse me, I know it's weird of me looking at a phone right now, but I want to show you some pictures, give you some ideas of what it is that I'm talking about. So anyway, Kathleen Offeld came up with this idea. Her mother Phyllis, who passed away, was an avid reader. And so, kind of in honor of that, what they wanted to do was have kind of a give a book, take a book, take a book, give a book type situation. And they wanted to put it in the community center, the senior citizens area, where they can have access to those books. And it's a beautiful, like a free public library, it's a beautiful,
Oh, that's awesome.
you know, you can see what it is that they're going to do. And it's going to be obviously in honor of Mrs. LaCourse.
In other communities.
Yeah, and so I just wanted you guys to see that. Kathleen, as you can see, Tim's up there. Kathleen put Tim to work, and Tim's getting anxious. He wants that out of his woodshed so he can build something else. Sorry, Tim. But no, Kathleen came up with a wonderful way to honor her mother. She was a wonderful lady, and I think it really served the community. So I just wanted to make sure we had your permission to put that in.
Absolutely, that's
Definitely.
great.
It's a great
Super.
idea.
And thank you for doing it.
Yeah, and Marty, he said he can move it, but he'll just be in touch with you about, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's wonderful, so. It's a great idea, and it's a wonderful way to honor Phyllis, and Tim, I hope you can hear me, thanks a lot, we appreciate it. Okay, with that being done, we have our voucher warrants.
I move that the voucher warrant signed by Mayor Paper, trustee Winston, and myself be approved.
Second that.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Monthly reports. Aaron, anything?
Nothing to add, just busy, see the
Yeah.
numbers, we've been steady over there.
And we have the rescue squad numbers that everyone saw as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so good there. Brent, anything?
Trucking along.
Thank you. You guys are doing a great job, really.
Thank you, guys.
It's going well, I'm really excited for it. Communications and correspondence.
I have a few.
Go ahead, Kristen.
I spoke to Mary Neecase, who is starting a support group for families with children that have disabilities. It's called Stronger Together, and I have her contact information if Jeff, if you want that for the newspaper. And she's basically starting this support group to provide support with evaluations, access to local programs, informational books and websites, discussions about concerns for parents that have children with disabilities in this community. Because she wants people to know that they're not alone and that they're stronger together. So that's a great group that's starting.
So, I can't count the number of calls that I received regarding the stop sign.
Which, stop sign, Kent?